Check microphone. Test 1, 2, 3. Check mic. 1, 2, 3. Check 1, 2, 3. Check mic. Yacht A. Yacht A. Check 1, 2, check, check. Check 3. Check mic, check. Check 1, 2, 3. Check mic 1, 2, 3. Check mic 1, 2, 3. Check mic 1, 2, 3. Check, check, check. Check mic 1, 2, 3. Did I just put it? Do I just put it on that? Huh? Did I just put it on that?
Yeah, just put it back on the mic stand.
Keep it on.
And instead of turn them off, they'll have to turn them on eventually when they want to use them.
Yad dene shik shet ahasi. Ade nakhano yahagi di de kwagi khaza hogan kinsalagi bigit no. Khan so chos di kwai holjishin len bigit ako. Kodo ya khan so da ya so the zen be art or niligi de be nakha. Ni ka deal was it no go to quida is kandan shohone art ebony na go kadot ya. Niet in Saziko. Ado in the da ya Yinishiage ya Earl Sombrero Yinishia. Can the chin in the slido be between Bashis chin? Kia ani dash che, dot is a son dashanale, quat ego the ne nishne. Ado in the ya the ne archigo but hahot zogi, han so got a beat at the beat not le neligi. That's a big hen, put a baby eat let the quid is kanda. Ado ya na shago, beta hashnet and little, koyat anotsko, hol ago, yat nikidini dole. Ado in the ya han so she kodo abo hone digi ado in the abe. Balden sending it abe nashid nest kando be she who is negate out she han so go be a dish. Hey, nay, young, Sheila, Quiddy and Eke, Ganashang, yea, Sheila, Quiddy and Eke, Ganashang, yea, your kaya, son, yea, be a jay, shinishly, go, Quiddy and Eke, Ganashang, yea, Gatsa, and the way, Gapi, Cowajon, shinishly, go, Quiddy and Eke, Ganashang, yea, shit, bada hojo go wedi yeneke kana shanga ye shake stay bada hojo go wedi yeneke kana shanga ye ne hokeki ata hojo go wedi yeneke kana shanga ye hokeki ata hojo go wedi yeneke kana shanga ye shohokeki ata hojo go wedi yeneke kana shanga ye sheyela wedi yeneke kana shanga ye sheyela wedi yeneke kana shanga anga ye ka asana tlesha biaje shenishle go wedi yeneke kana shanga ye ka tsana ye ka bikawajon shenishle go wedi yeneke kana shanga ye shekeshte bada hojo go wedi yeneke kana shanga ye shetse bada hojo go wedi yeneke kana shanga ye ne hokeki ata hojo go wedi yeneke kana shanga ye hokeki ata hojo go wedi yeneke kana shanga ye shehokeki ata hojo go wedi yeneke kana shanga ye sheyela wedi yeneke kana shanga ye sheyela wedi yeneke kana shanga anga ye yo kaisa biyanshle asana tles betsunshle vel hayor khala hashelt ki betsunshle vel khato alash elwan betsunshle johana e biyanshle deishje ni hitahigal choni hisal in be enot agi in da e be inosenigi be yaltkigi be hine enot igi a e be ni yago tishne a e be ni ini zigo enhedishne a e be yashtkigo a e be shine ehwin sengo enhedishne deishje kwagi zillisan dog o oslid de chillit zil not asa ana rebik ahojon niked ezgi kwa nikenaragi kodo na we ni yajnet soy ni in shlego ne dahigal choni sal it bahozen ko ten ez to bahozen ko nen la in da e ya han soko e no hot soy ashki no hot soy at ed when lodge ni he hot ed yad e ko tische ni dahigal choni hisal it ni dole han soko tatin ni he zenigi be nanigi be nanot ahagi be eto nenigi ben hine dit lenigi a e shi zego be nahashnago be nanstago be yashtkigo be etishnigo adishne kwado yad ekon ha adenosi yad ekon ha tsedokos ni ha yo ni ha jo pa be nahatsedo kes lido le kwado nat a leko hansogo at ya kwado ben takes ben nahat a be na yesihin zenigit a which ye et egi in that at a which ye et enigi hansogo ye hadotze hansogo yat eko kwado den big ye hat enigi at a his art ye not etodonil yat bebel int edole bebel konosodole han so go heshi sat asta iltsinte beg hol tole han so go beke ni itzadole likit yat ye hatot se kon hadili yor sat kosol ko tot eji sat it sat vashini sat hatetin sat ani sat de ye yaltki tole de dishje tot chiliki in da edit esa yin tot taliki de be basis an lidole be basis go ye chanat zeki a ye bit chanat ze ye ena kishiki a ye bit ena kishko kot a jonko ben nahat a leni de dot kodo yat eko das de kwai de naben nahasto ke has a han so koshi han zatede nalso san leni be khata de ango ben khaho ado in da ek a hol jisho de kuidish in anad ya din zate ni hikojo a so kinit lagi khed hot a no khanas hol yasli ko nit eko yat no khaba ho nit zin lidole na nishlagi na nishnat eki hadenol chka ado be en sa kes ko le na hat a hol no dole be ta I na dole khan so kon khatchen de kuid nat su ko hol ago yek en dot in da yek it lado le dide ntsakes bohi nako in da ntsakes na hat be bohi nako ye ta hato ari yat sat lini ge hato ze kodo yat na khabash at eli bet sage bash at eli kheshi ge khat zi shi kheshi de naben nesidol chan ye ke to zil di de lan de no zil ge shabat ken ta di le san zen ko ba jo ba khesh ya tsadat egit $1,000 in da ya khan so enol nen akhad ni to in da na ni shitol ni le ke ho I to le tsada I need age joko ni hito kodo ba kha ni zendole kha da ya khajo wal yahki to le to ajni da ye ya ba zet na ge nasite to zenda de ben na hodil benil zelo ent is ni khajo be kha win zen akedel zen wal ye de nin takes ni nat no happy hintitle be khanet ziko be yel kiko be skini ni ko anan kiti tish kot be kha ni be ya nachen nitsoka nit lego don ya be we nit ego nit ni kes tone bet ni now the nos being the ya anit khestot ko khani khestot ko na hon ni johot eko atin de ohil atin de nin takes betahi kha de khajo bet senti khos ado di de naba nahil gat ado do jat ba yeltki do ajni da kha da khata natot khata nan yo bek et kenaj do eben na yi ya bat sete ni kheto nit ne shi ta to benel nita dische njonako kodot ya tenan lenki astan lenki benat atedit khajo papa akhotenitzi khajo papa akhotenitzi ko baby ke ditzi jokot eko di de khot ben kha atenosi ben kha not ego ben hi kha not ego ben hi kha not ego nin tekes ni nat njonako be kinti kha njonako be khaditzi njonako be kha nitzendole njonako ya be eketenil zenko ta nate til ta skoche nkhatchen ta ni tsoka ni naliket atsko nkhol khako ben nat selau so wal ye nkhabe dotne yat kon khabenan be ni dole action silkage ek ado mai donate ado je donate ta nkhabe dotne zaan dal lego atkiko ta tail khabe dotne ain ta nakhat ni zel de kollo inda yakho sani hasqui ni ya ta ni khan so na be ta ko ni khata yat khaben ni do ko awad ya han ni khabe dotne khala lan sit shet ko de nei kachi ba jo pan hit o ni ebeni night ko pat so dilsen nat ani chilni do le so shit ko chit do le ko khashi kachi ba jo pa izin zen do le pa dan zan zen do le do de nabik an chagalta do de nado chnat ida do de nabich angel keta jo hot shi dat out ko de khajo ba na hotinizi eni zan to be khaditzi be nahite dil na ni na hat asalai dish hot ani tahi gadole chinki sat iten lidole de nashik 8 arts yat shaba an zin lidole يتين زنيد نسدا كيسكيت شابي بالقديل شابي بالقسنلي كون جنكو يتسنادا تو قس نغيج كو يتيكو ينادا تو قال بكيه ناز أبغى ناز نجنكو بأنت هست ليدو لتقالت كو خايف نيتلوني نجنكو بين خان زيدو لي تبن يحني تاتو نيادو لتشني كيساش إيدو لتان نيتاحيغادو لخوجو ناسلي وجناسلي وجناسلي وجناسلي.
We ask that everybody stand and rise if you're able to for the presentation of the colors.
G'day everybody. She'e Heather Fleming inisha, but ani nishle do bilagana bashachin. Kodachini dashache do bilagana dashanala. My name is Heather, and I serve as the Executive Director of Change Labs. We're your hosts for this evening. And if you're not familiar with us, Change Labs is a Navajo-led organization supporting Native entrepreneurs, small business owners, our artists, our vendors across the Navajo Nation and the surrounding area, because we believe that entrepreneurship creates opportunity, builds wealth, and also helps our communities become stronger and more self-reliant. Tonight's moderator, who I'll introduce in just a moment, is going to pose questions to the candidates in both Navajo and English. But I will be welcoming you only in English today. And that reality is part of my family's story. My mother and her younger siblings were sent away to school as children, and like many families, the experience they had there shaped the decisions that they made later on in life, including my mom's decision to not teach her children Navajo. I don't share that with you as an excuse. I share it because it's a daily reminder for me that policies are not abstract. They are decisions made by people in positions of power that shape our families, our communities, our culture, and also opportunity for generations. The same is true for Navajo economic policies. For decades, much of our economic thinking has focused on large industries, outside investment. Yet every strong economy is also built by our own relatives, creating businesses, solving problems, employing their family members, their neighbors, and keeping dollars circulating within our own communities. A strong economy does not happen by accident. It requires leaders and entrepreneurs who are both willing and able to take risks. It requires infrastructure that connects communities. It requires access to capital or money. It requires local leadership. And it requires a government that builds solutions and removes barriers. So as we gather for this forum, I hope that we think not only about the challenges facing the Navajo Nation today, right now, but also about the future that we're building for the next generation. What decisions are we making now? What opportunities are we creating? And what will our children and our grandchildren inherit because of those choices and the decisions that we've made? Tonight, you'll hear from the candidates, but they will also hear from you. We're asking each of you to participate in live polling because the future of our Navajo economy shouldn't be shaped just by the folks on this stage, but the people who live it every single day. So for those of you joining us from Shiprock, from Tuba City, listening on KTNN, or logging into the live stream, I invite you all to shape tonight's discussion. My hope is that our conversation moves beyond campaign promises and towards a shared vision of what it will take to build an economy where more Navajo businesses can thrive, more families can build wealth, and our young people choose to stay, return, and invest in our nation. So ahiaha for joining us. Thank you to all the candidates for being here, and thank you all for being here, for being part of this conversation. Before I introduce you to tonight's moderator, I just want to point out that if you haven't picked up one of these magazines already, please do. They're free, and you can catch one on your way out. And I mentioned that poll. You all should have a little thing on your seats with instructions on the back of how to participate in the poll. Once you do, you'll be asked questions that will shape the questions that we ask tonight. For example, the first question in the poll is, what community did you come here from? And here's what people have been saying. It looks like wheat fields. We have a lot of representation from wheat fields here today. And also in Shiprock, Tuba City, everyone that's participating in the poll. All right, let's begin with an introduction to tonight's moderator, an inspirational Navajo business owner I had the pleasure of meeting several years ago. Jerry Hungava is a dynamic Navajo media professional. She's a cultural advocate, and she's an entrepreneur. Originally from Black Mesa, she's the founder of Native Moto Tours, a unique land-conscious tourism business, and she serves on the board for the Navajo Code Talkers Museum. If you're listening tonight and you recognize her voice, that's because she is also C-3PO in the Navajo language dub of Star Wars, and is also a recipient of the Women in American History Award. She brings a powerful blend of business acumen and cultural insight to guide tonight's discussion. So thank you for being here, Jerry, and please help me welcome her to the stage.
Yat analtscho. She Jerry Hungy Vainshia. Yet na Tachin in Slon, Sanjakin Bashashin, Kinchachini Dashache, be between the Chanel. I yes ein lay just the Jimba that Nasha. And the Chanel Ecodo Topato, Little Colorado River will get there. Ah, that's the Bekashina Kai. Did out Ishiaho ah. Shachne ein naki. Ah, Shawe Eco a Trasita. Ado Shahastin a Mike Camariolia. Honey Stanton. A US Navy veteran. Ado Kodo Kisando Aisishiaho a conde to the Jimba de Esto, Nanshkad there. Shimasane Ishiaho Shinalis, Shinalestin, Equa, Nalieto, the Bedo Bekashito Sint and Najahik et the Tlehota, E Aj Condia Kanashwan there. So a little bit about myself. As Heather introduced me, I also announced my 4 clans. And all of you listening, thank you so much for joining us tonight. This is very exciting. Twin Arrows, 12 and a half years. Casino a lot of the employees here definitely excited to come back and see all of you. So, introduction. Tonight's discussion is focused on the Navajo economy, jobs, growing Navajo-owned businesses, infrastructure, capital access, and actively working towards long-term economic digital sovereignty. How do we build an economy where more Navajo dollars, more Navajo businesses, and more Navajo opportunities stay on the Navajo Nation or serve the Navajo people? Voters are not interested in vision, but also implementation. Each candidate will be asked specific examples, priorities, and accountable measures. We have prepared 16 questions for tonight's forum, but due to the time we have available, not every candidate will respond to each question. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to respond. We have a timer right here in front of us. And I'll make sure each candidate gets an equal number of questions. Finally, I'll invite each candidate to give a close 60-second remark in response to the question. If elected, one thing Navajo entrepreneurs will be able to count on from your administration is, and you'll answer that question. Most of tonight's questions will be framed by you, the audience, and your responses to key questions about the Navajo economy. The candidates will not just be sharing their platform and ideas, but responding to your concerns. Since we have a limited time, and many of you have seen the candidates in the forums throughout the reservation tonight, I'll be reading brief introductions to each of the candidates. So, to the right of me, we'll start here. Mr. Frank Dayish. Mr. Frank Dayish is a former Navajo Nation vice president from Chilchata. He brings decades of leadership experience in government, business, healthcare, housing, and corporate sectors, including work with NASA, BHP. Dayish has served as CEO of 2 major Navajo organizations and has professional experience beyond the Navajo Nation. His campaign emphasizes on experienced leadership, stability, and addressing the current challenges facing the Navajo government. Right next to Daesh, we have Mr. Boo Nygren. Boo Nygren is from Red Mesa and is the current president of the Navajo Nation. He was president at the age of 35, making him the nation's youngest elected president. Raised by a single mother, he graduated as valedictorian from Red Mesa High School. Nygren earned construction management and an MBA degree from ASU, Arizona State University, and a doctorate from University of Southern California. Before taking office, he served as Chief Commercial Officer at NECA. His administration has focused on roads, utilities, housing, and local economic development. Next, we have Mr. Alexander Chambers. Alexander Chambers is a businessman, former correctional officer, consultant, and owner of Chambers Steakhouse from Farmington, New Mexico. He has worked in private businesses, economic development, community leadership across the Navajo Nation and surrounding region. Chambers campaigns on emphasizing economic sovereignty, infrastructure, job creation, government accountability, and support for Navajo-owned businesses. He also seeks to improve access to housing, water, and energy while creating long-term economic opportunity for future generations. Next we have Andrew Curley. Mr. Andrew Curley is the NE professor at University of Arizona and presidential candidate from Hauk. His academic work examines indigenous economies, energy, land, water, infrastructure, and development. Curley's campaign focuses on sustainability development, protecting Navajo lands and natural resources, and improving the effectiveness of Navajo Nation executive branch. Next we have Miss Crystalline Curley. Crystalline Curley is Chenjikina, born for Twahatlani with Kia'ani and Zilthat Kia'ani grandparents. Raised in Fish Point with the Cottonwood chapter, she is fluent both in Navajo and English. Curley earned 2 bachelor degrees from ASU and Master of Public Administration from University of New Mexico. Elected Speaker of the Navajo Nation Council in 2023, she has worked on water rights, uranium contamination, elder services, youth engagement, and voting rights. Okay, next we have Tom Chi. Just show. The best up in Takesiki qua Shai can't days introduce yourself. Close enough.
Na nesta Hollande kon na sonigi shidi Tom Chi da shijne has kan hat zon so class chi was shindo na khidne da shi do toyet lini da shinade she kated as a shalate dat do dan jonie hajan jonos de chon do lesin da but shni she kada had no they're married, they're all college graduates, they have their own homes, they have their own profession, their careers, as well as my 2 daughters that I have raised that are very graduates, therapists, all the work they do today. And so with that in mind, I'm also born and raised just down the road in a sheep camp. So you are all trespassing in my definition right now, so we'll keep an eye on that. And my professional work has been a 25-year coach and a high school teacher. I have been involved with the 23rd Council as a member of the Budget and Finance Committee member. I'm also a member of the Investment Committee for the Navajo Nation that we looked over. I don't look like much when I wear my cowboy hat, but I have looked after your billions of dollars for 4 years, and I appreciate that opportunity. And I thank you again for your wonderful appearance with us today. Thank you.
Oh, Mr. Tom Chi. Adal Kuna Anani Ge, Mr. Arvin Trujillo, right here to the left of me. Arvin Trujillo was born in Farmington, resides in Fruitland, New Mexico. He has worked as an engineer and senior manager for major mining companies and state utility. Trujillo served as the CEO of the American Indian Science and Engineering Society, Four Corners Economic Development. He has led the Navajo Division of Natural Resources from 1999 to 2010. Trujillo studied biochemistry at Oral Roberts University and mineral processing at Pennsylvania State University. Okay, next we have Miss Emily Elson. Emily Elson was raised in Manuelito, New Mexico. She is Nakaidene and born for Ellison serves as Executive Director of Battered Families Services, where she helps strengthen the organization's finances and accountability while supporting people fleeing violence. She holds a bachelor's degree in business administration and previously worked as a job development officer for the University of New Mexico. Ellison has served on a community school board and with the Peace Corps in China, where she received an award for outstanding contributions to peace. You can clap. Next, we have Mr. Myron Leiser. Myron Leiser is a former vice president of the Navajo Nation from St. Michael's. He is Nathana Comanche, born for Tohane, with a Comanche paternal grandparents and Ashche grandparents on his paternal side. Leiser entered the presidential race based on his experience and concern about the Navajo Nation's current political climate. His values-based campaign emphasizes economic sovereignty and visionary leadership as priorities for strengthening the Navajo Nation and creating greater opportunities for his people. You're welcome to clap for him as well. Next, we have Mr. Justin Jones. Justin Jones is born for Tanesratni with Kintlachitni and Ashihe grandparents. Raised in Rock Point, Arizona, he values Navajo culture and community leadership. Jones served in the United States Marine Corps before becoming an attorney. His military service, legal expert, and political worksheet is his presidential platform, which focuses on systematic government accountability, structural transparency, and comprehensive legal reform to better serve the Navajo people. Next, we have Miss Debbie Nez Manuel. Debbie Nez Manuel is a Diné leader from Clagato, Arizona. She holds a Master of Social Work from Arizona State University and a Bachelor of Social Work from NAU Northern Arizona University. She brings more than 2 decades of experience in tribal government, community leadership, education, youth development, and civic engagement. In partnerships with youth, she co-founded Morning Star Leaders, a youth leadership initiative. Appointed to the Arizona Governor's Task Force in 2019 and 2021, she helped establish Arizona's first Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls Study Committee and has represented Indigenous communities in state and national leadership roles. Public information for these candidates, you'll find all of this online too, by the way. You can clap for her. Let's see. Dr. Jordan Begay is next. Dr. Jordan Begay is a citizen of Navajo Nation from Tuonalia, Arizona. He is of the Deer Spring Bitterwater clan of Rat Springs, Wildcat Peak, and born for the Towering House clan of Tulani Lake. His education and professional credentials span health sciences, healthcare, administration, health education, and public health. Next we have Donovan Begay, is that correct? Donovan Begay is the Navajo Nation presidential candidate from Untitled Chapter and United States Marine Corps veteran. After leaving military service, he attended college using the GI Bill. His campaign has emphasized helping veterans transition over to civilian life, understanding and accessing their benefits, and also obtaining stable housing and receiving appropriate health care and support services. So let's do a round of applause for all of the candidates. Okay, well, if you haven't had a chance, make sure you're doing the polls online. There are little QR codes on the seat of where you're sitting. Up in cell phones, tablet, there's a QR code, and you can actually be interactive with a lot of the questions that are coming through. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to select a few candidates to answer each question. I will ask questions in both English and Navajo. So I'm going to start to the right here with Mr. Daesh. Question number 1. Question number 1. Before we talk about solutions, let's establish what success actually looks like. Aside from registering business and job creation on Navajo, what is a measurable goal your administration will set for increasing Navajo-owned businesses over the years? And how will you track that? Ako the nek etche di na de kitigi bahashnet dolel di kwa the nebekeya da an nishigi ado kwa the nebet manat ani sinligo na de kitigi eya ish hate aqua banan nishodonan dal nishigi kwa di the ne abe na nishyol wallo igi lago hat abakanan lodo ado hate alto nal tos bakasin the lojo njano dolni.
The gross national product non state is Latin Kayahotzo. I don't not honest chin, but has undergo what our Yahibe had at Eho. Nke Yahan here then. Pajahos, Dojahot, Zogi, Yahi, Behadatet Eho. $2.8 million, Apache County. That's their gross national product. Dinahanihiki, Adentahanihiki do, Enal Tandahagido, Nad Yahayanas, Tahagi, Equa, Yahape, Yahawat Kao, and Zaho. Nana, Navajo County, Yaha 3.7 billion. According to the Nani, Lenny, now, Kayahatahu Stogi, Atahu Zogi, which a host, Dojaho Zogi, it's a Daho, Yahai Ajak, base of Wheeler. What are Yahan hold just this street? A quaggy, Yahai Ahano, APC, Dado, I don't need eat all this. I don't the did not Ahas Anjado, Yahai. Comprehensive economic development strategy. There's no nonsense. Oh, Yahai Tadeta. Asa Naha, Yahai Hade, Ito Evik, oh God. A Koe Yahai Nilik Enas Neltole. She Sadatish, Nishigi, what I don't need. Yahai Hotaho, a Nash, Yahai Bay Catole. I don't want to get a Shigido with Tahol, Jisho. Ava was and go Nasford, Jisho. What Yahai Bada with Yado, Ebony.
Okay. Yeah. Mr. Boo Nigrin, you also have quite a timer. I thought by Sunna. You on when you're talking. So Mr. Boo Nigrin is next. Would you like me to repeat the question? You got it? Okay.
na so thani ron le nifchina kideshi aro hata so gezgi he do le cho ar yes khodot ne banan ta de che to khwe hit ola ben da hat hwe na de kidigi ne hit o mansin kes hwe na niste yol yelgi din na na khego hit o na niste che ge bigedin it le to ba hot ya do le ne she horo bansis kes le asta ashlag nezdat tin no ba hone la de ne ben nash ba washington do hwe na nigi khatati la go na nispe hotal ya do de yol ge do horo din na na khego she horo bansis kes chun le ta ilga le na khina khaya da astha da bil sa asta hone la thar nezdat tin no ba hone la na nispe da hon gi bichu hote ilga ta at se do ta to do ti to bana ne she enigi sa shla da me bichu hotal ya sa esta astha tin da me da bichu hotal ya go ya ho ye de ze do bana nish de yo gerig ashon hot zelo bin da ho ag hot o eta ilga argo nas ko na hote shige le kheya da khada hat zogi de ti na khaja hayud ne kheya da khada hat zogi bichu hote ilga ashon bana nish khada bi sori ho na na to do le chukat ba hazin le de ne nalch na khido so ti kheya ta ti bada hone zaro di da kheya na nish da bichu hoda do le hot o aro to le bik hoda Nishiran Juno Nak Azad a pace of Johota does, letting a hot order, a head or leg.
Okay, next we have Mr. Alexander Chambers. Do you want me to repeat the question?
Is it the same question? Or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Same
No,
question.
you don't. Business is about one thing and one thing only: solving problems. Number one, that's what it's about. All we need to do is invite business owners, private sector, private businesses, Navajo entrepreneurs to the Navajo Nation to do service businesses. That is how we're going to do it. Bring these guys back and give them an opportunity. Right now, we're not giving these Navajo businesses an opportunity. O ayo o open nachiban side case. I say that from experience. As a Navajo business owner, there are prejudiceness hak etni ado hak ejna initial yegi hot ehgi holo within our Navajo business community. Not just with the Navajo business community, but it's also with an economic development and all these nonprofit organizations. They exist. It is there. It is real. We need to address this part of it in order to fix that. If we fix that issue, and then we can address every other issue across the board. How would we measure it? Data. We don't even measure how many people at the flea market are selling products and services. You know, data is power. So when we begin to see and capture that data, we can get a glimpse of what our Navajo economy looks like. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Andrew Curley? Same question. I'm going to quickly say the question in English real quick so the audience can remember what the question was. Before we talk about solutions, let's establish what success actually looks like. Aside from registering business and job creation on Navajo, what is the one measurable goal your administration would set for increasing Navajo-owned business for the next 4 years, and how would you track the process?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I've had too much coffee. Let's see if I can get through this. So, I have experience actually working on the research end of this, working at the Dene Policy Institute, working as a researcher. As Alexander Chambers was saying, we need data, we need survey data, we need to understand what kind of business is being there. First and foremost, I would go to the Business Regulatory Office and identify how many new businesses have been opened that year, Navajo-owned businesses. That's an easy, measurable thing to track. So that answers the first part of the question. Go to the Business Regulatory Office, make sure that they're giving us reports on new businesses owned by Dene people, by Dene entrepreneurs. We want to know a couple things about them. We want to know where they are located, what type of businesses, how many employees do they have, if any. Those are the kind of data that help us understand the economic impact of small-scale entrepreneur, of these businesses as they're developing. So that's really key, is to get survey data and to get that started. Next, I want to get us to have a more robust surveying of business activity throughout the Navajo Nation. We need how many people are employed in the tribal sector. meaning working for government. How many people are working for the schools? How many people are working for other kinds of public institutions? That's the kind of stuff we need to measure. And finally, as was just said, we need to know something about the impact of the informal economy. That is very important. So many people make their livelihoods on that. Thank you.
Next we have Miss Crystalline Curley, same question.
Oh, I think one way to support our Navajo businesses is actually to walk the talk. So supporting my Navajo women seamstresses out there across the Navajo Nation, that how would you measure success? Di Hagisha, Ndol Kahiki, Hatniniki, John, Navajo Nation labor statistics that then. We don't have any type of tracking. We don't know how much. We have different resources that say what our unemployment rates are. They all differ. Same as myself. We worked at the Neck Policy Institute. So you do need a president. I am that president that has that knowledge already. How will you relay that report back to the Navajo people? One way to do it is through the State of the Nation address by the President. The Council Kodo report is how many Navajo Nation businesses were created. You know, those are some measurable goals that we need to do. And there's also, we need that dashboard to see how many of our Navajo businesses are even getting contracts, not just our friends that are getting contracts. We need to prioritize many of our priority one businesses. How many of those are being tracked and how many of those are actually being accomplished?
Thank you. Mr. Tom Chi, Nisha,
Thank you again. There's a huge difference between living on land as opposed to land that you own, ownership of land. We're talking about private property, private businesses, and so forth. Then we live on the trust land. All we do is live on a piece of land. We don't have access to equity. We can't borrow money against the homes, the sheep, whatever there is out there. The only thing we get is a 75-year, 1-acre lease. You can't borrow money against that, and you hope to live beyond 75 so you could renew your living space. That is the difference. And how do we juggle those two pieces of land? At the peso binachikatot, ato peso da bahilido illini binach, yalwe holodo le, hoche, grazing permit, so ado biga, ado home site list, sosko, hagam binach, isto kilo peso da, biyashto da sampa hatten, ebinina, ebes at, what us ahot, asi kotatil nis hat no bilgana, kches any kojok edit, hebini na edo, nikichi hotel tota, ebini na go, Jin had chino del nego, the net ashon de sneko, yana credo lis.
Thank you. Okay, for all the candidates sitting to the left side of me, we're going to go to question number 2. Question number 2, what would keep more of your spending on the Navajo Nation? That's the subject. More than a decade ago, the Navajo Division of Economic Development estimated that approximately 65 cents of every dollar earned on the Navajo Nation was spent off the Navajo Nation. While the exact figure probably changed today, it highlights our changes with economic leakage. Many Navajo families spend money off the Navajo Nation simply because they can't find the goods or services they need close to home. What would your administration do to keep more of those dollars circulating within the Navajo economy? in the zat that iota ille. Hat ishin hit the natural yosh inity qua his a na da tra wash the hat ishin de gilnigi le kesande de gilni that the trotrada that in unjorged the beso ya hinde jo do ne bekeyata ya hashit out yan the qua the ne benat ani sin li do qua beshinta den nishiki di beso gi qua the ne bekeya sa bandilnish bach hadi al. Go ahead, Mr. Arvin Trujillo. You have 90 seconds.
Oh, go ahead, Jerry. Looking at how we can keep dollars, the way most communities do that is through home ownership, mortgaging, going into the bank. From that aspect, also businesses have mortgages from which they can obtain working capital to develop their businesses. We have neither because of our trust land responsibilities. So we've got to look at how we can look at grant development and loans or to develop that working capital. Really, to keep leakage on, we've got to begin to see how we can bring small businesses onto the reservation. How we can look at utilizing new grant money to start looking at home building to allow that money to circulate within the nation. It's going to be baby steps to begin with. How do we begin to teach our entrepreneurs and businessmen how to move in that direction, how to develop those applications, how to get that working capital? From there, we can then begin to look at that business development at the local level. Many of you go because you have the border towns have those services. Those businesses will look at this area if we have the dollars available. Again, that comes to job creation. We've got to look at how we can generate jobs on the nation. That way, those businesses will see that if we stay here, we can make a profit because you have money. At the they're going to go somewhere where they can. You've seen it. We've tried to legislate the location of businesses around the nation. It stays there for 5 years and they're boarded up. Why? They can't make a profit. Simple capitalism. So again, looking at that aspect, looking at mortgage development, how do we begin to generate dollars that begins to circulate in the community and not have you take it to the border towns? Because again, it's a simple aspect of looking at it from that money generation aspect and bringing that wealth back home. Okay.
Next, we have Miss Emily Ellison.
Day. Well, first off, I would not write a $24 million check to a Bilagana. I would much rather write $200,000 checks to Navajo businesses. And I'd also leave the business to the business people and not the government. But how can we spend our money when our investments are not protected? Which means we need good law enforcement, we need a good judicial branch. We don't have that. Our Attorney General is over there being a DJ. Our judicial system's become a joke. So let's put some integrity back into that. Let's get some of these monies out of here. Let's get the heartbeat of the Navajo Nation going again. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Mr. Myron Lizer.
Who is a businessman, so thank you for that plug. And you're right, the heartbeat of the Navajo Nation, I believe, And that statement isn't totally true about all the goods and services that we can't find. We do find goods and services on the Navajo Nation. And so as your next president, the Buy Navajo, Buy Local campaign can get restarted again. Because our early answer is found in our daily buying habits. Stay home, stay local, support known Navajo businesses, reputable Navajo businesses, which would stand up our economy initially right now from the get-go. And then additionally, we'll start seeking outside capital, enticing outside businesses to invest in the Navajo Nation. Big box stores that you're so crying about, we need to bring those down and start having those discussions, right? But first things first, buying Navajo, buying local will help us launch ourselves into where we need to be and start profiting. Change your daily buying habits, stay local, stay local. Also, I think some low-hanging fruit is in the FET, the fuel excise tax. There's legislation being considered right now to get away with dual taxation. Let's do away with dual taxation because Navajo Nation is getting their own, right? 16, 18% fuel excise tax, and the state is wanting theirs. Well, if we get dual taxation away, our people can start paying less for gas on our own reservation.
Next, we have Mr. Justin Jones.
So think about it. When we go to the store, why do we go to Gallup? Why do we go to Farmington? Why do we go to Flagstaff? Most of the time, we would rather have a small convenience store nearby. I think the concept of that, of local mom and pop shops, that's what we need to prioritize. Because the local mom and pop shops are the backbone of the economy here. That keeps the money flowing around here. Now, what prevents us from doing that? What prevents us from doing there are two evils to small businesses. Number one are taxes. The Navajo Nation tax structure for businesses needs to be revamped entirely. To be pro-business. Number two is going to have to be regulations that are in place right now. Everything from incorporating a business all the way down to the business site leasing. If we can cut down the time and the red tape on the business site leasing, all of that.
Yat shastwi shazani shalchine. Debbie Manuel Yinshia, Sanjakina Inshle, Tetna Bitney Bushes Chin, Titna Jenny Dashache, Trabahan Dashanale, Clay Twade Nasha. I'm here this evening with my husband and my volunteers outside. Thank you to our veterans, to our Gold and Blue Star families, Aikiha and Chicago. How I see us keeping the dollar within the nation is first, when do we get an opportunity to invest in ourselves? We don't. I don't know of anything on the nation where I can invest in it myself. I would if I could. So why don't we have co-ops, housing co-ops, where we get to invest in that if we want to help an elder, if we want to help a veteran, if we want to do something because we have the resources to do it, why not? If we can do that for food and farming, that would really make sense, so we don't have to get all our food in Gallup. And the same way with utilities. Right now we have a monopoly on NTUA. They get all the money. The CEO probably has a $300,000 salary and lives somewhere across the country. And we pay for all that. Why are we not doing that for ourselves? We need to keep money with home builders, trade services, welders, electricians, plumbers, grocery stores, convenience stores, clothing stores, automotive stores, and barber shops. Everybody needs to trim their hair. Why are we not paying our own to do that? Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Dr. Jordan Bigay.
Oh, yate the ambient edo sidene Arnold so say Dr. Jordan Bigay in this yeah. Ado be between Twitch in a song here ani buses chin yeah itene touching it that's say ado tatnastani dasinale. Twin helite I see nasa and I see nasit the a hat sike sanes sweet the bajanin the as chained could I the nens ado yat any they need the nepanat ani a by well ado nahasta igone yasata. So to the question, if elected as the next Navajo Nation president, I would ensure that we create a Navajo economic dashboard. The dashboard will look at the number of new businesses who register, who become licensed, information about in regards to the revenue that's being generated. These small businesses, we want them to be able to start generating revenue. Hala eight Although the next thing is the financing. One of the key things in my administration would be working through the Office of the Controller and working with the United States Treasury on designating the Navajo Nation to have its own CDFI. That way we're able to invest in our own people to build houses, our own people to go to this bank that's going to be the CDFI of the Navajo Nation to be able to help the small businesses. That way they don't have to go into mainstream society and try to get large debt with high finances. Thank you.
Next, we have Donovan Bigay.
Yade, Donna Bigay. I'm running for this position here because I think I can help out the Navajo Nation with a lot of their issues. One of the things that I ran on is building up the economy. And I used to be the fair director for Shiprock Fair. I was the first ever fair director that they had before it became a Shiprock Fair into Northern Navajo Nation Fair. And so I know a lot of the inner workings. I was only there very temporarily, only a few months when Ben Shelley came down and took over the fair because there was a lot of inner fighting over the funds. One thing is that the carnival would come in and they would pay Northern Navajo Nation Fair Board $150,000 right up front, plus 50% of all the tickets. And then they would have about 200 floats in a parade. They would charge $200 a piece. That was like about $40,000. And then they'll turn around and they'll do the same with the fair market, the arts and craft fair market area. So there's a lot of things that can be done there. The thing about it is that the fair board needs to share in the revenues with the rest of the people so that we can fix up the fairgrounds. So that's one thing that really needs to be done with the fairs. It needs to be cleaned up so tourism can come in and people who can afford $10,000, $5,000 pieces could come in and help our economy.
Thank you. Okay. We are now going to go over back to the right of me here, and we're going to do question number 3 for the first 2 people so we can get through a lot of these questions. Question number 3, what measure best reflects whether a tribal enterprise is benefiting from the Navajo economy? That naturally raises another question. Who should drive economic growth? Government enterprises, private businesses, or both? Let's talk about how tribal enterprises, government procurement, and Navajo-owned businesses work together to keep more wealth here. There has been interesting conversation about whether tribal enterprises hurt more than help our economy by competing versus collaborating. We asked the audience, and we'll ask the candidates now, what would success look like for a tribal enterprise, and how would you gauge tribal enterprise success? A tribal enterprise, like Navajo Gaming Enterprise, Navajo Hospitality Enterprise, NAPI, Navajo Agricultural Product industry sto eight elia tribal enterprise in Chicago beso il inigi quad nambe hope kayaki auto aided dads atla Navajo owned business heshi asaho na nishiol waliki ha late out ilkilnad nisto a ko e beso la il on no seto ya e na ade kidiki e she hit ba kunzen do bishindan nisto le
she ya Celete da sta wan spahanasi nesigi aje yashna nis ishla raita ako e ya e di neka nenigi to jo e ya e tonde laws nana kochito e ya e NTUA e ya beshin de laws e tra te ya des to da ta huishla ako e ya e ko e besikit ta hoizna aron dan hat ahagi do da di liso e ya abazano e ya e na ahagi ken da di ne jot e ya enterprise o ya e besin da di ne sheko salat te da nahas khanege e aro besin da ne shigi to e hot e ya e besakon ne sheko aron da nana to at sabik as a tage e ya e beshiti the contracting officer in snow e ya lash na kai aj to e ya bi ta hui ako aj base bana zoiro ba ho ni zan nache it was nash je ze en e ya e ko ta hui aron da bana has ani do ken banda si ne aro ta ta pati lugat e ben now e ko en da ne shi ke e din nan bin na ge ya na sta ge ako e ya e chota o e base be in na so ni jo hot e ya ebe e ya akisna an nisho akadi jaho jo hot e ya na hat ahagi ben dis
And next we have Mr. Boo Nygren with the same question.
Jo here when I de kid hate ola le na nistan sago but has ago do as is or but has agi but the deal nish and give here sin jono but the seal lesson so banses case di hone na si thani den jono do adi it and then le do ya ishahada kana datel khasne na kirizne is nothing the meal sado ba kana datel khas na nishin lenegi ashla asla the meal ba ashla nes nothing the nedel nishe he hone ya ikhegon jono but the seal nisto kedabdino anta ilga ode hode dishid a hot eron kidne del nisto na nishtab hodal ne do na the nedan lor na nishb hodal ya e hot oshi da ilgan so banses case Arthonle, the never came of a car, the queen was shipped for the house. So needed the hode need I didn't need ya Iana dan Hihodo, Sato Peso, Nada, Neto Ardo, and Al Tado of Hadan lady, Yahin Tehi Hodon, Ehoto, Eta Ilya, the needle, Ehoto, Kushi the Milsa, Yan, Nasi Nil.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Alexander Chambers with the same question.
I think the facts is very clear. The evidence is very clear that the Navajo Nation has a pattern of failure. Failure after failure after failure with Navajo economy and businesses. That is a fact that you can't argue with that. We got Navajo business owners that bid for contracts that never get a chance. You know, you got these bigger companies that get awarded. New contractors, roofers, electricians, plumbers, builders. They all get denied just because they're a new company. They don't get looked at with the brains of operation behind them. Just because they are a new company doesn't mean they don't know what the hell they are doing. You got to give them a chance to build these buildings. Give them a chance to build your roofs. Give them a chance to build your homes. Give them a chance to build your infrastructure. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. You want a real economy? You're going to have to invite private businesses. Period. That is the only damn way you are going to get this economy going. Anda bilagana jugo ebich e yodanit. Anda bilagana jugo e peso bich dahuinit. That is a fact. You want to stop leaking money off the Navajo Nation? Start there.
Thank you, Mr. Chambers. We're going to move on to question number 4. Question number 4. What keeps our community members from growing their business ideas? For this question, we're going to turn to the audience again for input. Navajo business owners, artisans, vendors, and nonprofit leaders consistently report barriers that are largely outside their control, including accessing business site leases, financial challenges, infrastructure gaps, navigating multiple layers of regulation. These barriers make starting and growing a company, a business, very difficult on the Navajo Nation, significantly more difficult than in surrounding communities. Tonight's audience has identified, you'll see it on the screen here, they've identified the biggest systematic barriers to entrepreneurship on the Navajo Nation. The question is, what specific actions would your administration take to remove business barriers? A Navajo business will yaya. Ish hate au di kwa najano no selto. Ish hate au e kwa zaat ene the nebikeya hishintal nisho. Hashit au e bakha di lual. What specific action would your administration do to remove these business barriers? Eot abakaigi hat ishinan ish hate au di nache kodili. Paperwork that's that niya that so and so is not here, call back. How would you help the Navajo business owners?
Yeah, there are a number of things that we have identified, my team that's working on this campaign, to thinking about making it easier to start a small business in the Navajo Nation. We have identified, and it's come up over and over again, as regulation as being one of them. One thing that my platform prioritizes with land reform is thinking about zoning, and we need to have business site zoning, commercial zoning, so you as business owners and you as entrepreneurs don't have to do that work. The Navajo Nation has done it for you. And we need to link that to physical infrastructure, water, electricity, sewage. Those are key ingredients that we need on the Navajo Nation. You find them in the border towns, and that's lacking right now. And that often you, as an entrepreneur, have to do yourself. Second, and what is identified in the pie chart here, is capital, access to money. That is key. The people here have talked about it, they've spoken, and in my platform, what I am saying is we want to move towards grants, not loans, meaning you don't have to pay that back. We want to give you the capital, seed grants to get you started. This is key because when you have loan repayments, that's yet another obligation on top of trying to succeed as a business. We succeed as a nation when small business succeeds as a nation. We don't need to be recapping that money. We want you to succeed so you're employing people, so you're dealing with the unemployment issues on the Navajo Nation. When small business hires people, that's a net benefit for the Navajo Nation, and we have to think about that in our economic indicators.
Okay, next we have Miss Crystalline Curley.
All right, so I'm going to break it down in actionable steps, solutions. So first and foremost, we do need a reliable and knowledgeable executive director in Navajo Nation economic development. Someone that will prioritize customer service. You know, we need to provide a tracking system for our new business owners, entrepreneurs, a step-by-step, not just a paper that says you have to bring all of this in and there's no technical assistant to help you get those documents. That's first and foremost, and having that support. So once you get your business started, my administration is going to prioritize giving you a waiver of taxes for your business taxes, at least 3 to 5 years. So then you build your own capital, you build your own revenues. But we have to give that support of you getting started in the first few years. And also, infrastructure, broadband. We need to start looking at building and supporting website development for our entrepreneurs, artisans. If you look at the studies, 99% of our jobs and vacancy are on site, and only less than 1% are online businesses. To build that new workforce that is missing, remember that's only 1%. And also just expediting a lot of the land processes to having a task force.
Okay, Mr. Tom Chi, same question.
I'm reminded about our grandparents. They were the true entrepreneur. They had grazing area. They had sheep. They took the wool, they carded, spin it, and they made it into a rug. And then they sold their product all the way, all the consistent needs that were there to make them entrepreneurs. It's when we let politicians, policymakers that come in and say to you, you can only have 15 head on your permit. You can only do this. Right now, we're exactly doing that to our cattlemen. We're pressuring them to sell their cattle before they're ready to sell. They're underweight by 200 to 300 pounds, and the buyers are just waiting on I-40, Kirtland, wanting to buy those underweight cattle. If Navajo Nation would have access, enable these producers to say, we are by grazing regulations making you sell your cattle before their time, before they're ripe. We give you a supplement out of the drought fund, ARF funds to pay up the differences if we work together. Thank you.
Next, we're going to go to question number 5, starting with Mr. Arvin Trujillo. Question number 5, which type of support would have the biggest impact on your household? A business you run or one that you hope to start? Many Navajo business owners talk about the need for more business financing. For many entrepreneurs, the real barriers come much earlier. Limited collateral, thin credit histories, a lack of financial records and business documents, and a few resources to help navigate the path to become investment ready. Financing is often the outcome of overcoming these barriers, not the starting point. Tonight, the audience has identified some of the items here on the screen as a type of the support that could make a difference. What role should the Navajo Nation play in helping entrepreneurs become investment ready and improving access to capital? Akoti the nek achinai de kitiki e yakwa the ne bikeyaki nan nishidal yet do beso il inigi ado ashe kwa bes kwa ashe kwa nash nisho tanastilo dit au e deshilti shana haniko dan ninigi apete yosh woliki jonan besa ba niliki le bank the jiraho e kwa beso shato nilajin zo in de e hat e yakwa on the alhot ni ya jo mortgage then hawan a ahdilne capital collateral ish e hate dit nebekeyaki ohot beso shato nishikato lwal ni zinko hat e bakati lwal e bech hodi al.
Looking at the support, really it comes down to education and training, helping our entrepreneurs navigate that aspect of gaining capital. And as they gain that training and as they gain that support, they become more confident as a business owner. They understand the ins and outs of actually how to run a business. I've seen it. The security operations at Navajo Mine was supported by the West organization. We need to get our economic development folks to get out of the compliance aspect and really begin to support our businesses. West supported the young Navajo lady who now runs that business. They've taught her how to do the financing, how to build a business plan, how to work the application so she's ready to present to the bank, how to then advocate for her business, how to bring employees in, how to get them paid, how to look at taxes. All of that came from West. And Navajo Mind supported her in moving in that direction, our enterprise. That's what their businesses need. She is now a successful businesswoman running the security operations at Navajo Mine, and she's expanding her business. So again, that's what we need, is that support, that education, and allow our business people to learn and then to develop, gain confidence, and move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arvin Trujillo. Next, we have Emily Ellison with the same question.
The Navajo Nation government is in no position to tell us how to handle our money. Once they learn to stop reverting all those millions of federal free funds, then you can direct us how to do that. The Navajo Business Opportunity Act needs to be written in a way that it meets our current business capacity. And we're still developing. We're a young nation, we're a young people. And we're easily led astray. That's why corruption is so big. We talk about investing with our youth because that's where it's going to start. We need to make it accessible to them. We need to help them form groups. We need to help them run organizations. So that's a mechanism. Updating our computing system, connecting it to our CIB, so we're not all checking our credit rates, right? Who's got 800 credit rating in here? Who's got 250? Something as simple as that, make it accessible. I don't think it should be free. If you just waste the money, you probably need to pick up some trash. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Mr. Myron Lizer, same question.
I thought I was getting the next question. I was already lining that up. What role does the Navajo Nation play in helping entrepreneurs become investment ready? Well, we need the Navajo Nation to become ready, willing, and able to invest. We got to have the want to. We got to have people that are passionate about helping our business owners and aspiring business owners actually take that next step. I used to teach a class called Financial Literacy and Indianpreneurship over the Navajo Nation, 2010 to 12. Everybody wants to be in a business. Everybody does. But guess what? Not everybody has the fortitude. So we have to find a way to weed out those aspiring business owners and really get to the meat and potatoes of who can really get into business. I have Cowboy Iron Gym. Anybody know Cowboy Iron Gym? They came to me and they asked Vice President Liza, when I was Vice President, says, how can we get into business? My daughter wants to open a gym. I thought, wow, we got to help her open a gym. I sent her to a very passionate person who helped walk her through the financing package, helped walk her through the business plan. They strengthened it up and got her ready to go to the bank. And guess what? They got a loan. And now they've celebrated their 3rd year anniversary. Cowboy Iron Gym, yes, they're doing very well over there. But that's how you do it. You walk the people through the process. Not everybody has the fortitude to be in business. And I want to recognize the Vice President of the Navajo Nation over here, sitting so pretty, so humble. I used to be a Vice President, and we need to honor our laws.
Okay, next we have Mr. Justin Jones. Get a new question. This is going to be question number 6. Which infrastructure investment on the Navajo Nation would have the greatest economic impact over the next 4 years? Economic development isn't just about attracting outside investment. It's about helping local people build wealth where they live. We asked tonight's audience to rank the most critical economic infrastructure needs on the reservation. If you could fully fund only one in the next 4 years, which would you choose and why? And the categories, and I don't know if you can see it on the side here on the PowerPoint. So the economic development isn't just about attracting outside investment. Di adanek echat isobach ahonisha. Di the nebeke peso inigi len zade and hada hakaho qua a peson de yinil hada she tohanan den hada hakaho. E qua nki the ne I don't kondal nishigi ish hate au baka deal with lo peson selo a deal. Equati Washington do the Sabrahozan economic infrastructure infrastructure ainly a teen, it leisure about a teen, editada the content tobia il editada a shandim bedit a quite light on nully a artisne ish a heart out a conda baka deal with the qua the nebanat anis in legal.
To me, today, we have roads, yes. We have electricity, yes. We have all of these, and we have that. We've had them for a long time. But one of the most neglected aspects of any business infrastructure today is our broadband and internet and cell services. I think that investment is going to be very good, not only for the big businesses that are going to be here, or we want them to be here, but for the local mom and pop shops again. There are a lot of our arts and crafts relatives that we have, but they need the internet to sell their products. So when either for the internet to sell their products, they have a mail order system, but the internet that we have here is terrible. Number two, the majority of our businesses on the reservation is carried out on cell service. Who in here will probably agree with me that right when you take off from home, you're talking about business and your cell phone, your cell signal drops. This is a real nuisance. So I believe that the internet and the cell service on the Navajo Nation needs to be our next investment in infrastructure.
Thank you. Next, we have Ms. Debbie Nez Manuel.
When I think about all of the needs around the nation, all of these places that we stopped and talked with people, the number one thing that comes back from the age group in this room, because I see a lot of people who are over 50 years old in here, and then I've seen a lot of veterans, a lot of spouses out there that are older, and every person said, we need a house. We need a home. We need something. Our house is falling apart. There's a veteran sitting in this room who has leaks in his roof. He literally has buckets catching that water. He's in this room. And I think about what his needs are. So mine would be housing. I would make sure we find and we invest in small homes. We invest in renovating rooftops. We invest in making energy efficient windows and renovation. I would make sure we do that. I think when we look at it, we talk a lot about our people who live in urban areas are going to come home, they're going to come home, we want them home. Where are they going to come to? They can't get a home site, they can't get all of the reports and surveys they need, they're struggling, and no matter how many times Mike Colonna says, you can get it in one day. I've tested that, it doesn't work. When I think about that, this is a brain drain, just trying to figure out housing. You can't buy $400,000 homes and say this is okay. That is a waste of money. We need to do better. Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have Dr. Jordan Begay. New question, question number 7. Infrastructure projects often take years. What could your administration realistically accomplish during one presidential term that entrepreneurs and families would actually notice? The infrastructure anle but kitrate na atinya just nebe kaya chito islejon jeno atinigi e da koten ya tron kis ya ilani to ni to besh up in sekesige na nanigi internet delna wifi delna asiat ilkhani nelo didne not ani sinli go heidish yese a logic go bandilnish.
Oh, yeah. Di na adikiti ea not ani sinlink go ea hashit out the nebekea bakate business development, economic development, bandilnish. So again, as I mentioned earlier, one, I'll go back to my 100 days action plan. The 100 days action plan, it has 14 different initiatives. I was the first presidential candidate to release my 100 days action plan. This 100 days action plan highlights broadband mapping. And broadband mapping, thank you. Broadband mapping is going to help all different areas, whether it's infrastructure, education, healthcare, economic development. They're able to utilize their online presence on a global market to be able to sell their items that they're making in the dagi. And that's revenue generation coming to them. That's a form of broadband expansion to our family members who live in Navajo Mountain, Utah, to our family members who live in Montezuma Creek, away from these bigger towns. If they have access to broadband, they're going to be able to expand their business. And if our hospitals across Navajo had better broadband access, they'd be able to offer telemedicine. That would prevent our Navajo people from going to Phoenix, Albuquerque, Salt Lake. So in order to get to that level, we have to work together and work quickly. I have 7 seconds. So my 100 days action plan has the various reasons. Again, broadband mapping and thank you.
Next we have Mr. Donovan Begay, same question.
The question here is basically asking what we could do within the presidential term realistically. I'm not here to sell you a fantasy. I'm here to sell you a reality. The reality is our biggest, what we have is our monuments. We have our Navajo Nation monuments, but when you go there, everyone knows that we could use help with a lot of the facilities there. So I think we need to really put money into that so that everyone that comes to visit, has a lot of reason to come back or tell other people, hey, I went to Four Corners, you should go. Not going back and say, hey, we don't have any, we couldn't have, weren't able to do this or do that because of the facilities. So I think that fixing up our community areas is going to create a lot more revenue for the people that are out there selling, the vendors, the artists, and then invest back into the artists. Someone mentioned a grant, and that's something that I was talking about before, giving a yearly economic grant to all the artists, because they're not only supporting themselves, they're supporting about generations of people within their homes. So that's what I would do within about that time. Long.
Thank you. Next, we're going to go to the right to Mr. Frank Dash with question number 8. Let's talk about how the candidates will manage the opportunities already in front of us. The next administration will inherit many major federal economic development investments and economic impact initiatives, some with deadlines just months after you take office. We have some examples up on the screen. How would your administration build on existing progress for these federal initiatives while ensuring these opportunities are fully funded? Washington lede ai ta san da anish. Akoti kwa not ani sinli go do kwa besin dan nishiki ai ta kote ke na nishnile chuk at not that see ado the neb not ani sinli o at discount din nishiki ai ta ilwase jo ai ta imase ish e hate out the federal initiatives they niki hot out eight the fully delivered.
I've already done that. I'm going to tell you, Ideas are important. Every candidate has an idea. But government isn't built on ideas alone. You see the ideas up here. Ideas inspire, but experience delivers. I've managed organizations with budgets from 80 million to 100 or 250 million dollars. I've managed 1,000 plus employees. I've also done and made difficult decisions on a daily basis. And I'm going to tell you, that's not theory, that's leadership. Experience matters. Experience matters. So the things that you're talking about up here, I opened the Kayenta Service Unit Hospital. I opened it up in 100 days. We were able to mobilize a cadre of professionals that moved the organization forward, and we turned back over to the community there. Now, I'm going to also talk about the Gallup line. We negotiated that. I was the one that rolled it out in Shiprock, New Mexico. We picked up projects that have already been moving forward, and we were able to move them to completion. So that's why I'm telling you, I've done it already. And so all I'm telling you now is we need to move forward, and all of us need to work together so that we can accomplish the goals and have a better nation.
Thank you, Mr. Frank Dash. Next, we have Mr. Boo Nygren with the same question.
Jubia, Queba, Nide, Kirigido, hate all and I don't know, Nishin, Lagan, Hero, Horushes, Anagim, a start Taren is nothing, the Milsa, where Yatnil, Onigido, was the special cheap by Yategi, I don't host double how Georgia, sheepy, Torja, your Torja, but how Georgie, the Aita at the Ilgado, the Gadna, Kinana, Hagat, and it never care of a car, Sosterin is nothing, the sense a Tago, Honzago, special cheap, Yatnil, on a day, Zetolaro, whereby Yatke, 5G, Nast 8 there's been Hono, Stand, the never care of a car, how that Edole, Ledo, Yai, Shahada, LTE, but no Anna Kidot, there's neck Adeashon, Stand, Nast 8 there's been what Jigo, the never care of a car, patients of, but what Zelota Ilga, hot on, Hinan, Shidelia, Doi Shashin, the Deutsch, and Nehat need a hot on, Jono, Eta Ilga, even a Horoba Naste, I sit the never care of a car, Chinahui, Nanagido, the hot eggy, Pindashis, Lestoyat, Ehota Ilga, Asia Hoto, Nani Catolaro, late Ochinde, Rama, but the Nenigi Hastaren is nothing, Hastaren is nothing, Hone Lat and Nebatia, Astet only, Nishin, Sikis, no patient, Hotzilota Ilgane, Nazis, and which in a Hontlande, it was the special chi area need for days, hot on Hinan, Shidelia, hot on, other days later.
Thank you, Mr. Boo Nygren. Question number 9, Mr. Alexander Chambers. The decline of coal industry affects many Navajo families and communities. What industries should drive the next generation of economic opportunity? And how would your administration help them grow? Akoti na ite kidigi eya jo eda e sejin hakiende e peso be el inde e aje the ne anda nesto ye na nishil o eya kwa nzago holjish akonde ek at eten akotik at peso be el enigi the nebekeyake at e has anigi ish e hate aban to kiss juk ade sejin dastid and hit the ne non nishatin ha a height abansin kes jai bahadlem.
Let me be real. There is a new era of leadership rising on the Navajo Nation. That is clear. No ifs, ands, or buts. This new industry that we need to create and establish is service businesses. Tire change companies, oil change companies, you know, businesses that solve our problems for everyday needs. A lot of people on the Navajo Nation can't even go to a local corner shop and get their oil changed, or get their tire fixed, or get their car repairs. We are lacking these type of service businesses on the Navajo Nation. I think we should start there and build around that. The other thing that we got to look at is the rising cost of our food, our gasoline, and everything across the board. If you want to practice no BS economic sovereignty, let's build our own gas stations and deliver our own tribal fuel networking system. Let's build our own grocery stores, stop relying on bashes. You want to stop there? You want to stop money leaking off the Navajo Nation? That's where you start at. Because right now we have millions of dollars leaking off the Navajo Nation. And if we look at that, you know, where does that go? That goes down to Phoenix, that goes down to California, that goes off Navajo Nation. Yes, they provide jobs, but we need to surround and trap this money on the Navajo Nation, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay. Next, we have Andrew Curley, same question.
Yeah. Many years ago, there were these Spanish that came through this area, and they were chasing something called Cibola, 7 cities of gold. And they were chasing it to futility, meaning they could never find it, and it was always something on their mind. And I think this is something that can characterize our economic development approach. We are always looking for that golden industry, and we're always looking externally, but we don't invest in ourselves and we don't look internally. And I think it's about time that the Navajo Nation prioritizes entrepreneurs and people working and living off the land rather than trying to attract big industries as golden solutions for the Navajo Nation. So that's number one. That's the key to my platform. Now, when it comes to boom and bust industries, when it comes to things like coal, I actually did a lot of research on this. I ended up writing a book on it, and it was about the decline of the coal industry on the Navajo Nation. And one thing to be clear is that it was a unique industry, and we can't think that every energy economy that comes on the nation would have the same features of coal. Coal was a large employer, had a lot of jobs alongside revenues. It's hard to get that in fossil fuels, other kinds of extraction, as well as renewable energies. So that's why I'm saying let's not chase these outside industries. Let's invest on what people are doing on the land right now. I would like to invest in public works projects, get recipients of financial aid and scholarships to come out here and work on the Navajo Nation. So that's key to my projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Next, we have Miss Crystalline Curley. New question. Question number 10. Economic development is also about whether people can actually live and work on the Navajo Nation. Many employers struggle to hire workers, while many workers struggle to find housing. How are these challenges connected, and what would you tackle first? Jod nebi keya ke eya na nishallo ada ko ina nishanshtra ko ana nishadet ahat niya a ko hawan aten hatni a ko shaat shgandolel la eya shadida bilkha edata o ko heshiya hasinoda alsailt kelia jo hawanigi bjena haut e a ko di na ide kidigi eya non-nish aten no akonish non-nish hadet anesha eya hawan ayise binche nahot eya els isobach ena
Ekodo na de kidigi. So many of our children go off to live off the Navajo Nation. Ka'achnik at otindal nishto da altka. Do kodet da nabadet neta johawana da den. Do na nishi da den hatnile. First and foremost, we, on a given day, on average, almost a researcher, I'm always data-driven, policy-driven as a researcher. Even today, we have over 2,500 vacancies across the Navajo Nation. 7% of our job openings on the Navajo Nation are private, meaning small businesses. Over 50% are government jobs, either healthcare, education, or Navajo Nation government. 13% is actually for tribal enterprises. So if you look at that, you look at the most biggest employer, we're looking at our tribal government and in our enterprises. They should be able to have that conversation with NHA, the president. I am that president to help lead those connections, collaboration. I don't know why we continue to divide in divided areas. So we So hopefully I get my time back. Another area is also broadband. So actually, to give a fact, the council is actually the one that provided over 200 million in investment for broadband. I mentioned earlier that 99% of our job is on site, meaning that only 1% is via Zoom or via telecommunication or online that you do your job. So we do have that investment.
Thank you. Next, we have Tom Chi with the same question.
Thank you again for your question. I've been driving to this casino for several years now. And it's the only building that's still here. It should be a shopping center, a shopping complex, and other hotels that's becoming the hub of this. And you know what? Our people are the only ones that are coming. It's not built for you folks. You're running to the wrong place. This is for tourists, people that have set aside their money, they're willing to gamble. We should be the workers, we should have employee housing, there's different ways of generating income. Nas onze bandas ido khayta dot nilti kidin hilteli bidot nidne danejen bezet dot ade lwashabiyo halno ni ohne chat danejen nde nas onsen le kede setaha chehya de dilchu khebel keni khido lahdot nidne shna ash ibn yen ya bidot nidne nejen oye naitish kid khayla e kidi zet to ahla. No, I did. I could not alone. I did. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Isn't the Navajo language so poetic? Okay, next we have Mr. Arvin Trujillo. We're going to have question number 11. Many young Navajos leave home to pursue education and employment. Building a stronger economy also means creating reasons and opportunities for people to stay and return. What is one action your administration would take to keep young people living and working on the Navajo Nation? Hate abakadil was at the nebekaya pas agi nahanal nisho nahanal ish hate qua the ne bekaya ge bakadil was.
First of all, I need to be careful because I'm allergic to cats. But looking at what I would do, what action I would do, I think the first thing I would do is begin with the end in mind. We need to establish an economic development policy. Today we just have a strategy, or we try to get a strategy that we don't follow. We need a policy so we know what we want to do. What are we going to try to accomplish? That once we have that policy in place, looking at industrial development or looking at manufacturing or looking at agriculture, what is it we want to do? Now we can prepare our young people. We have workforce development programs. We have internships. We look at the government. How do we get our kids involved in our government process? We give out scholarships. We should have them come back. We give you a scholarship, you come back and you work for us for a few years. Then we can begin to get our young kids involved in our government. They can go to the chapters. at the chapters, they are looked upon with great admiration by our young people. That will begin to grow. They can go off the reservation, get experience. When we're ready for them, they come back, experience. I've done that as a mining engineer. We can do that across the nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arvin Trujillo. Next, we have Emily Ellison with the same question.
Yeah. Da kain da lo ko da be yo chi ni. We did everything done. It's already here, you're done. Good thing we can think and we can see. No house, no job, no industry. What's a measurement of economics? You're driving at night, how much lights is in your neighborhood? A den. So how do we bring back our youth? How do we bring you home? Our urban Navajos, our educated ones. How do we bring you back? Housing, mixed housing, apartments, townhouses, condos, ranches. We have the land to do it. I ran in 2018. I still have my platform on my Facebook page. Land design, it's all listed there. I've been thinking about this for so long, and again, it's not my idea. Lots of other tribes have already done it. Salt River Tribe, they're already exploring these concepts. What we need is leaders who will sit down, write the policies out, write those laws, and make us follow it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have question number 12 for Mr. Myron Lizer. Many young Navajo people leave home to pursue education and employment. Building a stronger economy. Oh, sorry, that was the last question. 12. If you could complete most government services online, such as the Navajo CIB, would you use them? Digital sovereignty means having the ability to govern our own information, deliver our own services, build digital systems that reflect Navajo priorities, instead of depending entirely on outside governments or companies. Right now, we lack a lot of digital services and systems across the reservation. While this seems minor, it directly impacts our ability to generate and retain the wealth. This percentage of tonight's audience say they would use online government services if they were available. What would your administration accomplish over the next 4 years to modernize government services, and what would your first step be?
Wi-Fi direct TV da wan bakata nas aya e aten hiliata it iki ella IC daten edita ya cell phone besh besla patliki aya chiltki hats etla ado ahol ol wasata aten lia jo the nebikaya sa anigi internet delne Wi-Fi delne digital services delne e balganak echebain she ish eight out ya yat echo adolni skilonal nisho late ishach ehna batle ado ati ya ishabach ehna a.
All right, thank you for that. Well, this is the age of the digital age, right? And we need to do what is the hard thing. Leaders do hard things. The plight of the Navajo Nation, and a lot of our people have been saying, how do you protect our data? How do you protect our sovereignty? Well, what better way to do that than to have our ability to keep our data on our nation, relying on ERP, which is an enterprise resource platform. Why can't we use our Navajo entrepreneurs? I'm thinking of Wyatt Gilmore. Is he in the crowd? He's an entrepreneur who, I'm thinking of some other, Hojo Technologies. I mean, over in Shiprock. These guys are very smart, and we need to put them to work to help build our ERP, our own ERP, and not shop it out to Microsoft, not shop it out to PeopleSoft, not shop it out to anybody. And so I think we can build our own, and our own people will help us keep our sovereignty strong within our own system. Where do we want to go? I believe what Arvin has said about having a policy. If we have a policy, then we'll know where to go. And so I think that under a Lizer administration, we will have everything in place because we know where we want to go. And as a business owner, you know, I'm a job creator. I'm not a taker. And so I want you to vote for Lizer.
Thank you. Mr. Justin Jones will have the same question. And audience, you can see the poll on the side here. 44% says yes, they will utilize the services online if it was provided for them. There is a small factor of folks out there that prefer to do these things in person. Same question, Mr. Justin Jones.
This kind of is a segue off of the last question that was asked. I said infrastructure of telecommunications and broadband. This is the essence, this is the foundation of all of it. 244.6 million Shigo January be Adishahati Schnittlid. Aroshahati Schnittligit Ago Isha in Linigi. We have to upgrade our telecommunications and our internet systems. The Bodaway Gap Chapter House, they have to drive all the way to Window Rock just to sign an insurance form. If we have all this upgrade, then they can just send it by internet, do DocuSign, and they could send it back. You just saved about $1,500 in overhead right there. We have to go from the paper side. We're a paper society still. We're back in the 1800s. We are all digital. And I think that the Navajo Nation departments, I would like people down in Phoenix to apply, to register to vote down in Phoenix by telecommunications.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Justin Jones. Next, we have Debbie Nez Manuel, question number 13. Which Navajo Nation government process has cost you the most time? Every hour spent driving paperwork, waiting in line, calling various departments for information contributes to economic leakage. Business owners often say the hardest part of starting a business isn't opening the business, it's the time, stress, and expenditures of resources to navigate unclear and undocumented processes. If elected, what specific government processes would you target, and how exactly will you plan to eliminate bottlenecks for local business owners? Paperwork Shabi gata a kona hajilne, dinan lehotet no, dinal sos, not the sos what no, edit the art the jirat and lay tabrahot and the jiraha, edonal nishta, he's on leave at Nia. A copeso bahilne, jodi art a half a day in la whole day that's in all the back of just a copeso or tenlia. A conan hidden ape non nish ilehe. The on up and on Nishbanda in Nihe. Asha hate our a bakat deal with a Hugo Yanan, a higgy a bottleneck de Snia. Ashan Milhabaj or the art.
Thank you for the question. I had this conversation here in the lobby yesterday with a RICA educator, and we were talking about that. She was saying that she met with these individuals who were getting their benefits, and she said, I work with a lot of people, Debbie, and I'm on a time limit. What can I do? And I said, it's not what you can do, but what your company can do. We use Google platforms in a lot of different ways, and we use YouTube through the council when we're watching sessions. We use YouTube for different things. We need to have individuals record a succinct message in English and in Navajo that has all the information, because when we call Window Rock, when we call elections office or vital records, what happens is the person behind the desk only gives you enough information when they have about 3 minutes to tell you something. And then a few minutes later, another person comes in, maybe it's their relative. This is how you do it, and they spend 20 minutes with them. And then over here, a good friend or colleague comes in, then they give them a lot more information. There's no consistency in our messaging. We need to use a platform that's consistent for everybody and that they can go to first before they have to call. That will streamline everything we have to do. We also have personal cost saving to purchase these programs so it can happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Dr. Jordan Begay, same question.
Oh, the Nebanat Ani Salinko, going back to the 100 Days Action Plan and looking at the small business, I think what we need to do is create a one-stop economic development department. That department will be able to issue the licenses, the registrations, be able to assist small business owners in filing their taxes. Because, of course, with revenue, you have your LLCs, your sole proprietorships. And organizations such as Change Labs, the work that they do in our communities, we know there's a Tuba City Hub, and Anatani Nes de Alto, because the business hadesh what go nzinko eya yaka natja. So through that, be able to create that one-stop economic development department where we're ensuring that our portals are online so our people can start their businesses in quick time. I myself am a small business owner. It took me less than 5 minutes to start my business and through the Arizona website and get my LLC, my certificate of good standing. When it comes to the Navajo Nation, it's taken me over 6 months. I'm sending my Manila folder back to Window Rock. I didn't fill out the correct application that's on the website. They told me to read the whole thing. I had to fill it out, send it back to Window Rock. I didn't sign one paper. It comes back to you. That's where we're at. So that's what I would work on, is making it digitized. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, audience, for your participation. So according to the polls, it looks like a high percentage waiting for approvals seems to be the highest percentage. Next would be traveling to submit paperwork. Then making multiple trips for documents. Deepik isneldo hashit au eya nihe nihilkotilne. Ekwan masan bagan hi chebagan hi nalla bagade ededan le flagstaff kishan de tabaganigi ish het au eya ti nta anneshiki hajo bik isneldo nihilkotilne. Tell us a little bit about that.
The Navajo Business Opportunity Act is basically, I believe, is a opportunity to contracts, has to do with contracts over $50,000, and I think there's a lot of red tape going on in these, but then it's there for a reason. We're dealing with that with our housing program, with the ARPA situation, where people kind of like jumped processes to get a contract. The next thing, it turns into a big controversy. So going back and looking at a lot of the processes and having everybody follow the processes starts from the top, starts from the office of the president. And you got to be able to look at those, but then also our leaders, our delegates, they need to be able to look at all the processes. Everybody is following those processes. So that's the reason why we round up in this situation with $24 million, is because some things, some processes weren't followed. So I think that having those processes accounted for through the accountability of the judicial system needs to be upgraded and followed. Kaya Allah.
Thank you, Mr. Donovan. Big A. So if you look at the screen, you'll see some of the top numbers, percentage of contracts awarded to Navajo-owned businesses. That's what people would like to see. Also, jobs created, how many jobs are being created here on Navajo Nation. Next, we have number of Navajo-owned businesses. So these are some of the numbers that folks would like to see, and that's the poll coming from the audience. And next, we move to Mr. Frank Daish, same question.
I would continue to implement the economic development strategy that the Navajo Nation has put together. However, I would start to enhance it with all this information that is being presented today. We need to track it, we need to put due dates on it, then we need to put responsible people in charge of it. In my case, I would work with my vice president. Today, you can see that what has happened to our vice president. I saw information earlier where she was saying she didn't even receive the budget. She doesn't even know what the Navajo Nation budget is. So I would work with my vice president to implement these sorts of issues to ensure that we continue to move these initiatives forward. So that's the type of activity that you need, working with one another. So you have to take the initiative to continue to move the Navajo Nation forward. We need to take a look at the structure of the Navajo Nation, and I'm going to let you know that the Vice President supports a vision. The Vice President will support a vision. The President sets the vision. So that's what would happen in this case. And so what's not happening is there's no communication to move these initiatives forward. So I'd like to answer that question from that perspective. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Mr. Bu Naingwen. Question number 15. What is the biggest obstacle preventing chapters from advancing economic projects? And you'll see the polls here on the side here. Top would be percentage of contracts awarded to Navajo-owned businesses. Next would be jobs created. Next would be number of new Navajo-owned businesses. So here's the question. Our final policy question is about economic decisions should be made. Many chapters have identified local economic opportunities and want to move forward with these projects. Some community leaders say that chapters lack the authority, the funding, and flexibility to act quickly, while others believe centralized oversight is necessary to ensure accountability. Do you believe chapters have the authority and resources they need to lead local economic development? If not, what would you change? Okoti na de kitiki le chapter house. Thought nazlene bikin sa aniki akote hlihlia chapter house. A adabet his aniki ako juti peso na ja do heshi not anin lo quas tahi pesta has anda. Ado does he hondad nishiki to a art trago il trago. Hashit out a bansin kesti chapter than the nishiki adats a higa beka eliadats editats or tifon dad nishta a cohesion yisinti ahiki a hat aban dil nish.
Tribia, when I kidigi nidia, Trotnas, the Libitan has Argo hit all Abinaniste, Yosgedo hit all Ehos Nipa, Niliagos, Pekasins, O Biganson, Junle Todines, Desido Todination, Jonoba, Delige, Dodo, Nahunt, Delish, Ishebina, Doat, and Nesnatino, Nesna, Tatnas, the Libitan has Argo, Ho, Egon, Jonodolin, Soban, Siskes, Arosto, Bindashid, Nishigan laid, and Ha Archicada had any Toha. Do Alamo, do Rama, lay your Toja with Haho, Toja, Anna Peso, but John Haishe, the never Ado, the never Washington, Banahan Tlagi, Anna Hisha begida no an ben das hot o bida hoitos hot o yat hot nir nal sos hadish lagne yo toj ha hot zogen large nat ani lenige bich hoisla khode naz an hibetn das ha de never an ado Washington ban han aido bigata hot o shin nada di listen so ban siskes yesin jgono be has ani jot never an ajno eto be has ani jo zota hodo be cases inige and ohni jgono bahni yago biga han so hot odo ha sit sabagan hot zano the ne sada ka tho ye da helne do nire bahda osti khanne do da hot enigi de naz leben da has an jgono do le aro and peso do ohni be da has slo ape atin zon da nishlo sa jo yes I ta ba da is hot o da di lin so ban sis case he.
Thank you, Mr. Niagara. Next, we have Alexander Chambers with the same question.
I thought I was going to get the Navajo Business No Opportunity Act. So anyway, with our chapters, let's get down to it. Number one, I think there's a lot of corruption and favoritism in chapters. If we end that first, and then we can be real about these discussions. We can sugarcoat it, we can color it any way you want, but at the end of the day, if that exists, it's still going to be the same. If experience alone could solve all these problems, all these leaders stand up here, the has-beens that said, well, we can fix these things. If that was the case, why hasn't it been done? Why are we still discussing these same old issues? Why are we still tap dancing? I've did that. That's a broken song I've already heard, ladies and gentlemen. The fact is, we are going in a new direction. The fact is, once we end the corruption and all these other things, then we can move in the direction of creating a private economy and bringing our chapters together. That is real. That is boots on the ground. These chapter officials are running on little systems right now. They don't communicate. They say Winderock doesn't hear us. That is a fact. Winderock doesn't really coordinate with the chapters. So if we're going to be real, that's where we're going to start. And ask yourself one question. How can we fix this? Why is it still the way it is? You go figure.
Thank you. Okay, well, those are all 16 questions for tonight. I think we've, oh, wait. Yeah. I think I gave the best answer. Yeah, that was 16. So we're going to start with our closing statement, and I'm going to go back to the furthest down, Frank Dayish. Okay. So when you think about Navajo economy today, which word comes to mind first? Now I'm going to give each candidate an opportunity to make closing remarks before I wrap up this forum. Each candidate has 1 minute to share what Navajo entrepreneurs will be able to rely on for the next 10 years. Ako. The next agenda de kitiki eya, juti the nebikeyake, hashit out a peso, hashit out a peso neja, hashit out a peso no seto, a kotikwa, the nebanat ani nasan ligo, hajon kilhotilne, hashit aban sin kesiki, dik hait out eya, the ne nata alido leh. Yeah, this is the closing statement, so each candidate will have 1 minute to answer the same question. We'll go all the way down.
There are 3 basic industries for any economy. One of them is agriculture. We have one up here, Navajo Agricultural Product Industries. The water hasn't been finished. Navajo Indian Irrigation Project, the federal government has not stood up and completed that project today. So that's one of the things that need to be completed. Manufacturing, that's the second item. So anywhere you go, you need to have manufacturing to start an economy. The third one is land. We need to continue to expand and preserve and protect the land that we have. And when I talk about protecting the land that we have, I'm talking about the resources. I'm talking about the water that's underground. We do not need data centers on the Navajo Nation. We need to preserve the water that we have so that we can continue to move forward as a nation. So those are the concerns that we have. Once you put the basic industry jobs in there, there's a multiplier effect. So every basic industry job that's created, 3 service sector jobs are created. Frank Dace Jr., position number 6. Thank you.
Biga juyat dole na hiso khedon lero da so kizi khoya yese lanj naide kirigi nat ani nasen kleo he odenen na nishde yos geri bkhan adi go shehro bansis kesa asar nes na tino ba honne la the mil sa denne bo what denne apin denigi na nishiyos wotgi bichi hodel ya dot khada dot nishto na nish bichi hodla hodal ya jidi nat ani nashdi ya ahona nat o shibkhan adi chance bansis kes e lanj just aroston lik aida bedeni lishe society neznet society no ma se pid the mil sa hoto ata netgi tin de khoy yos khotgi bich hol ga e to shi ata nil to na nishyada e khadabi yos khotwin so e hoto na nishnada di nil to aita se pid mil sa hone la ta hob bich hota lagi a hona to kit nada di nishna nishte yos gelgi a khehen ke dini a hoton ke khe nasi jidel ke dini dole.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's in. It's very clear which direction we need to go. No ifs, ands, or buts. You all hold the key to make these changes. So get out and vote for the next leader of the Navajo Nation. It is time that we move in this new direction. Because one thing is clear, if we continue on this path where we're at now today, that is the raw real there. And if you guys really want an economy, let's, a lot of Navajo entrepreneurs out there, step up to the plate and start your business. Everything else will fall into place for you. Again, this is Alexander Chambers, position number 5. Thank you.
We are met on a pinnacle of economic development vision, this casino here. But does it reflect what we want as a people? This is something we have to ask ourselves when we're thinking about the idea of economic development. It's not just one thing. It's a broader set of issues. It's investing in our people. And land is the word I think about when we're talking about this. I am running on the issues of land reform, no new mining, reduce the size of OPVP, and sustainable development. I think sustainable development is key for the future of this Navajo Nation. This is something that I want to invest in, and I want our people to be benefiting from. We need a broader vision of economic success, not just revenues going to the tribal government, but money in your pocket. This is important, and this is key for the future of the Navajo Nation. I want us to think about broader economic integration. I want us to have that vision that we had back when Peter MacDonald created CERC back in the day, where we are the leaders in Indian country. That's what we want.
Oh, yate, ado ashinek, kodoshik, she crystal and curly, nishye, ado kodo inidiye bahasti. We have been in this type of structure of our government for over 100 years. We have many long, hurtful history of natural resources, mining, fracking. We need new ideas to bridge back our gap into our economy. The answer is our own workforce, our own Navajo professionals. But we need to bring them back home. We have many examples here that are successful, that are thriving. We need to be able to invite them to be part of the solution. We have Brent Isaac back there. We have Kodonde Christesh Chitney, Naomi Glasses. They are thriving. But being able to help the government, a president that will say, Kodonde Kikadesh was Etanits and Kodo Hehe.
Zata benish angit a kodo belgana kache nikiche de desh chilshanshin kait edole. Navajo Nation, with its land base of 27,000 square miles that expands into 3 states. If Navajo Nation was a country, there's 195 countries in this world. We would rank beyond 125 largest land base in this world. And we are not even farming 1% of that land base. If we were to increase it by 2-3%, we would be the breadbasket of the Southwest. Increase it to 5%, we would feed the whole United States. We would be wealthy. The land, the wealth is in the land. It's not outside our land. We are the wealth with our culture, with our language, with our uniqueness as an indigenous group. People come around the world to see what Navajo is about. We must maintain that status as we move forward. Thank you.
Yeah, to probably introduce myself. She's a Sakadin Schlimpet, Anye Bashin, Nakaidenet, Shin Tashichedo, Nakaidenet, Tashanala. Looking at what we're expanding now in the economic development, we need to bring our biggest potential in play, our people. We need to bring our people together to begin to solve problems. I'm an engineer. That's what I've done throughout my career, is solve problems. Complex problems. You can look on my website to see what issues we tackled with DNR and what we got done. This was experience. This is what we know. We learned what worked, we learned what didn't work, and we changed and we made things happen. That's what you want. You deserve a government that listens, that responds, and that generates results. That's what you're hungry for. Arvin Trujillo, position 3. Thank you very much.
Our leader did not show for State of the Union. 1, 2, 3. Our Supreme Court has not issued a judgment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. An investigation needs to happen in the missing 25 million. Somebody puts their buddy in there, so no investigation. The council, where's those laws? They're busy protesting. They're busy taking our money out that they don't have to answer for. They're sitting there here again saying, vote for me. I'm going to think about your problems, Navajo people, on this case, while they're getting money. It keeps going and going. When are we going to say no? We're going to say no in this election. Thank you.
First of all, I want to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, who gives me the ability to be here. I also want to recognize my beautiful wife of 35 years, Dottie. Would you wave to everybody? The second lady of the land. And recognize Penny Emerson, a valiant, brilliant lady entrepreneur for many, many years, many, many employees. So, what will we leave behind for our children? This is our why. When you know your why, your what, economic development will be more impactful. I believe that I should be the next president to help get us out of the doldrums. The next president will have no money ARPA is gone, $2.1 billion. Where did it go? She's talking about 25 of it. I don't know. I mean, we could open up that investigation. But I want to get Navajo Nation ready, willing, and able. Shidinea, are you ready, willing, and able? Myron Lizer, position 1. Look no further.
What you're going to get from a Navajo Nation president, Justin Jones, is one thing for business owners: immediate and complete enforcement of the Navajo Business Opportunity Act and the Navajo Preference and Employment Act. Period. What will this entail? This is going to entail Navajo business owners are going to get contracts prioritized given to them, not anybody else. It does not mean you're going to have several proposals here and then the rest of them are non-Navajo proposals and you're going to go through the trouble and then not give the Navajo business owner these contracts. No more. That stops today. Secondly, it's going to prevent waivers of law, where now what we're doing is we're waiving the law so that we hire non-Navajos. So a complete enforcement of these laws.
The reality, in this administration, $23.7 million was returned to New Mexico for capital outlay funds. $24 million went missing from Navajo Nation. $15 million was returned to Daltex, from Daltex, so we couldn't do renovations. We're still missing a 24th Navajo Nation speaker's report. It's been requested for 3 years. In total, $62 million just missing. It's gone. We can't use it. You can't use it. Chapters can't use it. When we look at this administration, investors are fearful of investing in us. Federal offices, 574 tribes, Indian affairs, foundations. These investors no longer trust Navajo Nation because of this current administration. Unfortunately, the next president will be forced to create damage control. Debbie Nez Manuel, Navajo Nation President Candidate number 12.
Joyat e nana shikedo shne the modo na kitchen ya isha so go na natin asa go na nahast e abato yat e get nana she Dr. Jordan Bigayan is the July 21st. I humbly ask each and every one of you people here, thank you guys for coming this evening, and to everyone on the lives, please go and vote. We have over 145,000 Navajos who are registered to vote. I hope all 145,000 Navajos go to vote. Again, thank you for participating in your government. Cast your ballot. The I see not ani salinko so the nepelntashin shigito shandal nisa desnida do belntashin go 8 I see not ani well yeah although again, I just want to ask everyone to get out there and vote. Please vote for a person who knows the competency of the job. Don't vote based off popularity.
Yat, to this point, I haven't heard any solid economic development plans here. I'm the only one who's saying, hey, let's fix up our fairgrounds. Let's fix up our facilities. Let's attract more people to come to our Navajo Nation areas so that everybody probably has an artist in their family. We're the ones out there sitting at the flea market, sitting in mud. We're sitting in puddles. We're walking through rocks and everything. We need to fix up those fairgrounds. That is our biggest industry on the Navajo Nation, is the artists. We're the ones creating and keeping the industry of tourism coming in the Navajo Nation. So we have to fix it. We have to do that. So likely I'm the only one who's going to do it, because everybody else is going to play politics and nothing's ever going to happen. you just look at everything the way it is, it's going to stay the same. Hela.
Thank you, Mr. Donovan McGay. So that concludes all the questions, answers. I want to thank each of the candidates for joining us tonight. I'd also like to thank all of you, the audience, for helping us shape tonight's conversation. Thank you for being a part of the participants in our own economic sovereignty. I would also like to thank Change Labs for inviting me to moderate our conversation and also for organizing tonight's forum. Finally, tonight's forum is made possible by Native Voices Rising Grant. Native Voices Rising Grant, thank you so much. There are several questions we asked in tonight's poll, and I'd like to take a few minutes to show you all the results for your benefits as well as the candidates. And they're on the screen here to the right, left. Just as they're putting it up, I'll tell you a little story. I remember I'll share a story with you when I was a little girl. And go with grandma trading post the other but no ice cream di kwa the yoga yan ya banahani ha jo ati lich no ye benesh lo inashwo on sisda got ishi all yeah marketing sales economy the better strategia ki you remember you get those big bags full of wool do peso be adoti ohiki that's how I survived college. One little rug at a time, $50, $100. Of course, my grandma ain't Navajo Economy, it's not a brand new subject. Ntshago enjano to lielo a benoselto e shi hanjo ban tsita kesto lel that the inol tsaiki a hehe ntshago. I believe they have the poll up now. So one of the questions first, if the next president could accomplish one thing to improve the Navajo economy, what should it be? And here are some of the audience comments and ideas. So they're shown over here to the side. Secondly, we asked the audience to rate how confident they are that it's easier to start a business on Navajo Nation today than it was 5 years ago. And here's what the audience said. Thirdly, who is the best positioned to identify economic opportunity in our community? And tonight's audience said, my laptop's frozen. Fourth, here's why most of our citizens are spending their dollars off the reservation. Finally, we also asked citizens what gives them home about our economy. So these are some of the questions that were given on the tablet or cell phone. And these are the responses that the audience gave to us. Finally, we asked all of our citizens to please go out and vote. Go to the nearest place. Oh, actually 5 o'clock today. I voted in Tuba City. I had to drive over there Wednesday and do that. Another election, November 3rd. There's an opportunity now for the audience members to pose a question to the candidates. We will make sure that each candidate receives an email summary of all these questions as well as tonight's poll results. So candidates, when you get home later tonight, check your email. You'll have all this information there for you. And now it's time for some interaction. We invite you to join us in front of the ballroom to meet the candidates and learn more about their ideas before the primary election. Thank you all for joining us. Travel home safely. And last but not least, I'm going to ask the color guards to come back in. We have the Cornfields Veterans Organization Commander Wilbur Smith, David Mitchell III, and Ricky Crawford. We'll give this time for the color guards to retrieve the colors. While you're all still standing, I'd like to say a closing prayer. Shadiyan ya ashtakwan loni, di kwa na janol ki kaigi ba kheta nidzin. Aro din zada en khata has kaito la akonda bangan. E stop between lodo di kwa abelda ajehegi big eden ido. Leha at ishi nchoi betahi naga betahten lido lel e nachat queen single. Aron hi masandon hi chedon hi nala ahawadan da has khani istoshi da is got e do between lodo lel. Adol chinen no selli koden khata has khaigi yutahil ahti the neck achia del tito da no the neck ache inna bohosh ahta no san khan das khay e lo ba kheta nidzen Adol no selli alt is awend ad neck ache big del tito balagana lo ayhol ako hisn lobiga e ba khensen Josh masande shichenale shijashma Angel the neck at church at Yelka abahol Ado de Bahenson Shidian God. De Alto Nada Haske not ani de Schlestan no. Jojane Jupaje Jano e qua sa ala and son. Ben sick Hesigi a Nasco a Hansata Kes. Ahun Shano qua Nazanigi a Beton Lordole. Heshi not ani nana slingy to the Zin. But at the nation ga. Jodi art equa na has kaigi the how you got Thank you. In Jesus' name, amen. So we can all go out to the entrance here, and that gives the staff to clean up the room. If you want to meet the candidates, they'll be right out front here. Thank you.